What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to bring you another 2014 WCQ hat format combo and coaching guide. The deck I want to talk about today is Geargia Karakuri. I had a lot of people ask me to make a video to talk about this deck and go over some of the combos, thought processes, and interactions you need to know when playing this deck. So that's what I'm here to bring you today. If you haven't checked out my deck profile on this deck, I highly suggest pausing this video, going down to the description, and I should have it linked there. Hopefully I'll remember. Definitely check out the deck profile so you can become more acclimated and aware of what all these different cards do. I will kind of briefly touch on them in this video, but just so that you can also see ratios and fully understand what all the cards do and talk about some of the different options you might have when going through these combos. So definitely check that video out, and without further ado, let's get started on this video. So the thing with Geargia Karakuri is it can play a control game, or it can go and just explode and make a crazy type of board and OTK you. So that is a really cool thing about this deck, and one thing you need to note is a lot of the combos from this deck aren't necessarily going to come to you turn one. That'll make more sense once we actually get into the combos and things, but one thing to note is you kind of want to play a grindy game that Geargia is known for, because this deck does play a lot of traps and can play a control game, and usually you're just waiting for the right setup. So whether that be, you've played through enough of your opponent's back row that you're not afraid of it anymore, and you can kind of combo off and not have to worry about their interaction, or, for example, in this deck, we do play things like Trap Stun, so if you find a Trap Stun and have the right setup, then you also are basically guaranteed that you can get your combos to go through. Obviously, if your opponent has Max C or DD Crow or any other hand trap or anything, it might be more difficult. So for these examples, let's just assume that they don't have any hand traps, and if there's any back row, you had Trap Stun and could actually go and play through those different cards. So speaking of setup, a lot of these combos are going to consist of the card shown right here. And how this is going to work is, for the most part, when you're going to start comboing off, you want to previously already have a Geargia armor set, or during the end phase of the previous turn have activated a Geargiagear. So on top of that, usually it will also involve having one of your tuners or having Geargia Accelerator already in hand. There's a couple other combinations that I'll go through, but for the most part, as I mentioned, it's going to consist of a lot of these. So let's get started on the first combo. Alright, so for the first combo, it's going to consist of having a Gen X ally Birdman in hand, and having a Geargia armor that was previously set on a separate turn. And in my opinion, this is probably one of your better combos, because this one will not involve your normal summon, so you can do this whole combo without your normal summon. So if you have a normal summon, you can extend this even further and do a lot of other cool plays. But what you're going to do is start your turn by flipping up your Geargia armor. From here, you're going to use its effect, since it was flipped face up, to add a copy of Geargia Accelerator to hand. After that, what you're going to do is special summon your Geargia Accelerator, and from here you will use Birdman's effect to special summon itself by returning your Geargia Accelerator to hand. After that, you're going to re-special summon your Geargia Accelerator, and from here you can use the second effect of Geargia Armor to once per turn flip it to face down defense position. Next, what you're going to do is synchro summon with your Geargia Accelerator and your Birdman, and go into a copy of Beret. Beret's effect will trigger, and you will be able to special summon one of your Karakuri tuners. You kind of have options of which one you want to go for here, but in general, you're going to go through them anyways, so it doesn't really matter necessarily which one you're going for. So here I am going to go for a copy of Watchdog. Next, what you're going to do is use the effect of Beret that once per turn, you're able to flip a monster or change a monster's battle position. So you're going to target your set copy of armor. You're going to flip it face up, and from here, you're going to activate armor again. Keep in mind, if you look at the effect of armor here, it just says that when this card is flipped face up, you can add a Geargia monster from your deck to your hand except Geargia armor. So that means that you can trigger that secondary effect multiple times in a turn, and what you're going to do here is add another copy of Accelerator. Next, what you're going to do is special summon your second Accelerator, and from here you just start synchro summoning. So what you can do is synchro with the Sylvan and the copy of Accelerator for an 8, and you are going to go for a copy of Burrito. Burrito's effect will now trigger, summoning. You have a couple options here, I guess, too. You could go for your Strategist or your other Watchdog. Those are the most common ratios, is playing like 2 of this and 1 of this. Some people will go 2 and 2, some will go 2 and 1, but for the most part, the majority of builds are going to go for this. This can also matter if you choose to play the more level 8 focus build. I talked about this a bit in the deck profile, but if you choose to play 2 Burrito and 1 Beret, it's probably best to go for the Sylvan here, because at the end of all this, if any of it survives, you'll be able to go for the rank 8s. If not, and you go for the NAWCQ here, you'll be able to go for a rank 7. So what I'm going to do here is go for the NAWCQ, summon it. This effect will trigger, switching it to defense, and Burrito's effect will trigger, drawing me 1 random card because the position of a Karakuri monster switched. From here, you can synchro for another 7, going for another copy of Beret. Beret's effect will trigger, summoning the Watchdog, and if you look at all the attack, this is a OTK here. If your opponent has no other cards on field or anything, this is enough damage. 26, 26, 28, and 600 is well over lethal. So that is really good, and again, you did draw an additional card. You still have your normal summon. If you really wanted to, in this exact case, you could overlay these for a Draco Sack, make 2 tokens, and the tokens are level 3 machines. So if, you decided to play extra copies of Beret or something like that, you're able to go and use one of the tokens and the Sylvan for another level 7 synchro, and you can use the effect of the Draco Sack to pop an opponent's card. You just have so much different options with this exact combo, and that's why I think this is a very solid one. The next combo I want to show off is if you open and have a set Geargia armor previously set on another turn, and you open one of your Karakuri tuners. Now, this one is slightly worse than the last combo, simply because you will use your normal summon, but it's still a very strong combo. It's gonna kind of vary which one you open, but in general, both are extremely similar. So for this one exactly, I'll show the NAWCQ one. So what you're gonna do is start your turn by flip summoning the Geargia armor. From here, similar to the last combo, you are going to add a Accelerator. From here, you will special summon your copy of Accelerator, and here's where it varies a little bit different. You're going to use armor's effect and flip it down here. The reason you flip that down is because when you go and now normal summon the Strategist, this effect will trigger to switch the battle position of a monster on the field, so you're going to now flip up your Geargia armor. Now, armor's effect is going to trigger, adding another copy of Accelerator, which here you can go and special summon. Now, from here, what you're going to do is basically the same thing you did last time. You're going to start synchro summoning. So here you'll synchro summon for a 7 and go for a copy of Beret. Beret's effect will trigger, and you will be able to summon one of your Watchdogs. Then you are going to synchro for a 8 and go for a copy of Burrito. Burrito's effect will trigger, summoning a Sylvan. And then from here, what you're able to do is synchro again for another 8, and go for, in this exact case, I would go for Scrap Dragon. And the reason you'd go for Scrap Dragon here is simply because 28 plus 28 is going to be 56, plus 26 here is going to be over 8,000, so that is a OTK line right there. And if you really need to, main phase 2, what you're able to do is activate the Beret, switch this to defense, and you will go and get a draw as well. Or if you need to do something after that, you can use the Scrap Dragon and pop one of these, pop an opponent's card. Or if you're playing one of those rank 8s that you can do, you can then also overlay these into a rank 8. Usually that's going to be like a Divine Dragon Knight Felgran or something like that. And that's just another simple line you can do. Now, much like the last combo, if you did open the Sylvan, the only thing that's going to be different is the order in which you're summoning your cards. So, for example, if you open the Sylvan, what you're going to do is flip your armor, use armor, search your accelerator, special the accelerator, use the armor effect, flip it face down, normal summon the Sylvan, synchro with these for your level 8 copy of Burrito. Burrito's effect will trigger, and you will special summon your NAWCQ. NAWCQ's effect will flip up your armor. Armor will then get a search of another accelerator. You'll special the accelerator. Sorry about the glare there, but it's going to leave here anyways. Synchro for a 7 for your Beret. Beret's effect will trigger, summoning the last Sylvan from deck, and synchro here for 8. So you end on pretty much the same exact thing as last time. The last combo I want to show off before getting into the Geargiagear combo is the one that involves armor and either MK2 or accelerator. So obviously, as I said, you're going to have your armor set, and what you're going to do is you just need to have one of these. It doesn't really matter which one, because when you flip up your copy of armor, you're going to search the missing piece. So we're going to pretend that we don't have MK2 here, because a lot of times you will see multiple accelerators. So you will flip this up, you will use the effect and search your missing piece. Again, if you open the MK2, you would then have a search for your accelerator. Next, you're going to special summon that copy of Accelerator because you have a Geargia monster. And from here, what's different is you're going to overlay these for a copy of Geargiagear X. Now, from here, it's important that you activate this and detach the Accelerator, because what you search off of this Geargiagear is going to be your Birdman. So in order to make sure your Birdman is live and you have an extra extender, the accelerator is going to be your extender. So let me just move this out of the way. And what you're going to do here is normal summon your MK2, use the effect, and special summon the accelerator back. From here, what you're going to do is bounce the accelerator and summon the Birdman. Worst case scenario, if you don't want to extend too far into the combo, if you think your opponent's holding out on a torrential or something like that, you could always overlay these into whatever your choice of rank 3s are. My build played Soul of Silver Mountain, so I would not be able to go into that here because Birdman is a dark. But if you chose to play something like an Alucard to try to bait a back row, or a Mechwhip Engineer or something, you could go for that. Or there's a lot of just different options. But in general, for this combo, it's going to be irrelevant. So we have these. And then because we still have a Geargia on field, we can special summon back that copy of Accelerator. And from here, it's kind of just the same type of thing we've been doing. We are going to synchro with the Birdman and the copy of Accelerator and go for a 7. And then from here, we're going to use the effect of the Beret to summon a Watchdog. Specifically Watchdog because this is a 3 and this is a 4, so we will be able to synchro those into our second copy of Beret. And then from here, you have your option of your other watchdog or your NAWCQ, the strategist, of which one you want to summon. And that's really just going to come down to what you decide to go for here. Obviously, this is going to be enough damage if you're going for an OTK line. So let's just say in this exact case, we go for this. This is enough damage. And then obviously during main phase 2, if you didn't beat them, you could overlay these for something like a Draco sack and then use the effect, get 2 tokens, and you can synchro with this and one of the tokens for another 7, or you just have options of really whatever you want to go into. It really just comes down to what the rest of your extra deck plays. There's so many different variations you have in the extra deck, but that is the next combo. Now, the last combo I want to show off actually isn't going to need Geargia armor at all. All it's going to need is an accelerator in hand and a previously activated Geargiagear. So say during your opponent's end phase, you activate this and you will summon your 2 Geargianos. Keep in mind, these are going to be level 4 because Geargiagear increases their level by 1. So what you're going to do is start your turn by special summoning your Geargia Accelerator. And next, from here, what you're going to do is overlay these 2 for a copy of Geargigan X. So this is going to be very similar to the last combo that we did. From here, you are going to detach the Geargia Accelerator. And from here, we are going to search the Birdman. Now, what you're going to do is use Birdman's effect, returning the MK2. And we have not normal summoned this turn yet. So what you're going to do is summon the MK2, use the effect, summon back the Accelerator. And from here, it's the same type of thing where you just are going to synchro summon with the 3 and the 4 and make your Beret. Beret effect is going to summon your Watchdog. You're going to synchro with these for another Beret. And then Beret effect is going to summon your Sylvan. And this is, again, in OTK, same exact end field as previously, just not needing to use your Geargia armor. Now, besides your main combo lines, you do have a lot of smaller interactions and things you need to be aware of. Even if you're not pushing for game or making the flashiest combos, there are several interactions and pretty decent boards you can put up off of the smallest random setups. So for example, if you have something like your Watchdog in Graveyard and you have a MK2 in hand, as well as having a Geargiano either in Graveyard or in hand, what you're going to do is summon the MK2, and this has the effect to summon a Geargia monster from Graveyard or hand. So what you can do is, depending on where this is, summon the Geargiano, and this is really unique because this has the effect that a lot of people overlook, and it's you contribute this card to target a level 4 machine type monster in your graveyard and special summon it, but its effects are negated. So it's not only Geargias. So you contribute this and summon your Sylvan, and from here, what you're able to do is this has its effects negated, it's irrelevant, you're going to synchro for a 7, so go for a copy of Beret, and then Beret's effect will trigger, and you can summon the NAWCQ, and from here you have a 7 and a 3 tuner, so you can synchro those into a Leo Keeper of Trees, and that's just a strong card. It's hard for a lot of decks to out. Obviously, you know, things like the artifacts can out this decently easy, but besides that, you know, there's not that many decks that can easily out this, and not to mention this deck does play a lot of different cards to stop the artifacts, whether that's like hand traps, things like DD Crows, or you're playing things like Breakthrough Skills, Fiendish Chains, and stuff like that. So just pairing that with this is extremely strong. Other things to keep note of is if you, say, have this and the Geargiano, you now have 2 level 3s. So what you're able to do is you can go for cards such as Soul of Silver Mountain, and you can use the effect to target a back row, and then your opponent can't activate it while this card's on the field. But it also has the extra bonus effect where if it destroys a monster by battle while it has materials, you're able to go and summon back a earth monster from graveyard. And one thing to note with this is it has the effect that if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, while it has Xyz material, you can target an earth monster in your graveyard, special summon that target in face-up defense position, and that has no restriction on the level. So that means, if anything, you're able to summon back your earth monsters, such as your Karakuri synchros. You can summon back your Scrap Dragon, again, as long as they were properly summoned. You even have things like your Leo, which is a earth monster. Now, obviously, in defense, this isn't going to do a whole lot because it has very weak defense, but even then, it is a way to get another monster on board. So if you're playing, say, the level 8 focus version, this is now you're summoning back an 8, which you can maybe use for an Xyz, or, you know, you have your things like your 7s for your 7s, and there's just so many other options you can do. Another thing to note is opening multiple Accelerator can be really good too if you see another one of your Geargia monsters, just being able to, say, summon this and be able to have multiple extenders. There's just so many different combinations of cards that actually get you to really nice boards that you just have to sort of play around with the deck and see what works best for you. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up on it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to get notified anytime I put a new video out. Share this video with your friends. Let me know in the comment section what deck you would like a combo and coaching guide on next, or other videos you want to see in general. And anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.